Have you ever wondered what it would be like to have supervision, enhanced hearing, extraordinary reflexes, to be, dare we say, superhuman? Well, Roku's new Pro Series TV can't do any of that for you. But with a 4K screen, side-firing speakers, and a blazing fast refresh rate, it'll sure feel like it. Elevate your entertainment using all your favorite apps like iHeart and play all your music, radio, and podcasts with the new Roku Pro Series. Your senses aren't better. Your TV is.
We've all done it. You see a headline but don't have time to read the whole story, or there's so much news you're not sure what is worth your time. I'm Colby Ickowitz, co-host of Post Reports, the weekday afternoon podcast from The Washington Post. Post Reports brings you what's relevant and revealing. Breaking stories, politics, wellness, culture. Each episode goes beyond a headline for the context you need. Find Post Reports now, wherever you're listening.
I'm Rodney Williams.
And I'm Travis Holloway. Welcome to the Wealth Break Podcast, a real conversation about finance.
Let's be honest. Building wealth doesn't look the same for everyone.
I feel like sometimes being broke is a cycle and that we might have to revisit that.
And we're not stopping at success stories.
What happens when it doesn't go right? How do you cope with it?
Because wealth isn't just about money. It's about creating a life where you thrive and help others do the same.
Listen to the Wealth Break Podcast on the iHeartRadio app.
Kyle, what do you got for 3 things we need to know?
So tomorrow is not only Rich and Stacy's wedding anniversary, but it's National Pancake Day. And to celebrate, IHOP is giving away its signature pancakes for free. All you have to do is swing by an IHOP between 7 a.m. and 8 p.m. and get a free short stack of original buttermilk pancakes.
Well, I know what we're doing for our anniversary day.
I was going to say.
Not Italian. We're going to get pancakes.
You schedule your wedding on a special day just so you could always get pancakes together. They did a study and they actually found, this was kind of surprising to me, that men become strongly infatuated with their partners a month earlier in a relationship than women do and are likely to make the first move to say, I love you. They also fall in love on average more often than women. You would think maybe that would be the opposite, but they found women are more committed and have more intense romantic feelings once those feelings have been cemented. It just happens to dudes quicker. In the study. They also did a study and found something that I feel like is the obvious. Like, I'm surprised they spent money on this study, but they found when like young adults and people in general fail to control their TikTok use, especially when it gets in the way of like responsibilities, they're significantly more likely to postpone going to bed and end up losing sleep. I'm like, duh, you just get like a wormhole, right? And all of a sudden it's like 10 o'clock and you're like, all right, I got to go to bed. But they literally paid for a study on that. And so the scientific findings do not lie. Excessive TikTok use makes you lose sleep. Just so we all know. And that's 3 things you need to know.
It's almost like excessive use of your phone in any way.
Right.
Right? All right. What's the deal, your husband's idea?
Okay. So he comes to me. He just spent like a week in Nashville at this conference. He does a lot of like voiceover work for country radio. And so it's like a huge deal. And while he's there, he met a lot of different people in all different fields that have to do with country music. And he came back with this idea and he's like, you know what? I think we should start a podcast together. I was like, you and me? What? Like, what are we going to talk about? Like, who's going to pick up the kids from soccer? Like, I was just laughing. He's like, no, I think that could be really interesting. And so now we've started to like do this bit where we'll start a conversation and then we'll just say, save it for the podcast. That's never going to happen. And so I'm like, I was very, because this kind of comes out of left field for him because he already has like 18 jobs. So like for him to want to start another thing to me is like ludicrous. Mm-hmm. Like you don't have time for anything, let alone starting a new thing.
That'd be cool to hear you guys chat. No, you guys are funny to hear talk. You're funny.
It was like, we talk about like boring things, right? Like, what do you want me to get from the grocery store this week? This is the extent of like the conversations we have. And so I kind of poo-pooed it and then I felt bad afterwards because like I thought, well, maybe if we did, because actually it's funny, Grant just walked in here. I thought about Grant and Caitlin, like they have a podcast and he has said before about how it helps their relationship, really.
It has. Doing a podcast with my wife before she was my wife and now after she's my wife, it has strengthened our relationship and how we communicate, but we also let it fly on the podcast. There have been podcasts where we just fight for 45 minutes and then we're like, we're not releasing this. And then we just decide later on, yeah, let's put it out.
But once you're done taping the podcast, are you guys still fighting? Or do you guys go, okay, that was the show. Let's reset.
No, I mean, it continues on for days and weeks and weeks.
You know, Blake had pitched that to me. In fact, I bought all the equipment for it and months ago, and it's still sitting in the living room because she was like, people had asked about, doing it, talk about relationship, the highs and lows, whatever. And to do something like that, you got to be as honest as possible.
You got to be open.
And I'm like, and then it's like, I wish someone could call and give us the rules first that you should implement. Do you know what I mean? Like, you know how they say, you don't want to go into business with family. You don't want to somebody experienced that before and gave you the rules.
Right. What are the boundaries?
Okay, so if you're going to do a podcast with your husband or your wife or your boyfriend or your girlfriend, what are the rules so that if you get into a fight, you got to be able to, once you hit stop, you got to be able to go, okay, that was there. That's over.
Oh, no.
So that you don't continue to fight while you're in the kitchen.
I'm glad you're talking about having an expert, to discuss this with you. I am that consultant for you, I think. But no, dude, when the joy, I think hearing someone else get into like a petty fight is very satisfying. But yeah, I think you just need to, you need to let it go, but that's impossible. Like, you remember.
So you stop recording, and then you're in the kitchen or you're in bed and you brush your teeth, and she's like, I can't believe you said that.
We hit stop, and it's the funniest thing because I know it's a good, bad podcast in the sense that Kate takes off her headphones and just throws them on the counter and just sits there and just looks at me and gets her phone out, and I'm like, oh, it was a bad one this week, guys. But no, I think that's what makes it good is when you don't separate.
No, I think you got to have rules.
No rules.
You got to have rules. There got to be a safe word.
Pineapple. Don't give us too much.
Yeah, actually, we did an episode of Terrible Person this week where it was all low energy, and like neither one of us wanted to record, and for the first 25 minutes, we just kept saying, "We're gonna find it. We're gonna find it," and then at 30 minutes into the podcast, right before we switched over. We landed it, and I was like, "Oh, we're cooking with gas now." It's just about persistence.
You and your husband can call it, "We're cooking with gas."
Yes. Okay, that's actually a good name for a podcast.
The intro to your podcast would be so kick-ass.
It's just a 45-minute intro.
That's the whole show. Every show.
Pick up the kids. I will. That's the end of our podcast.
Hello, iHeart listener. We have a confession to make. Both iHeart and this commercial you're listening to right now would probably sound a heck of a lot better on the new Roku Pro Series TV. It's got side-firing speakers that fill your room with sound, Dolby Atmos audio that puts you right in the middle of the entertainment, and the ability to pair seamlessly with your home theater sound systems that already have surround sound and booming bass. If all that sounds too good to be true, it'll sound even better on the new Roku Pro Series. Your hearing isn't better, your TV is.
We've all done it. You see a headline but don't have time to read the whole story, or there's so much news you're not sure what is worth your time. I'm Colby Ickowitz, co-host of Post Reports, the weekday afternoon podcast from The Washington Post. Post Reports brings you what's relevant and revealing. Breaking stories, politics, wellness, culture. Each episode goes beyond a headline for the context you need. Find Post Reports now, wherever you're listening.
For some of us, personal finances aren't just personal. They include a lot more people than ourselves. Loved ones, neighbors, the communities we call home, and the causes we hold in our hearts. At Thrivent, we help plan your financial picture with the bigger picture in mind. Because even though our business is helping guide your finances, our ambition is to make it mean so much more. Thrivent, where money means more. Connect with us at Thrivent.com.